Hi, Maggie. Ashley here. Great job on your lesson. I too kind of had a little bit of a hard time figuring out barriers in regards to my lesson, and I just think sometimes we may not always come across so many barriers, and that's okay. That's great, right? I really like how you tied this lesson to what you do currently with like the career and college readiness with your 11th and 12th graders. And I thought I hadn't ever thought about, I guess, 11th and 12th in the capacity of like teachers just being like, well, they're on their way out, so we're going to put them to the side burner or the back burner because this is what we have to focus on. We have to focus on these tests and these star exams and all these scores and how it's going to affect our school. So I can see how that's a need. And I loved how you just advocated, and you are already advocating for them to be prepared to step out into the real world, because standardized testing doesn't really happen in the real world. That's not a skill that we need to use to be able to function really in society so much. Especially for those who aren't going to a post-secondary school, especially or maybe into the military. Those people who are ready to jump into a career won't need to be able to do that. So I like how you tied it to them, and your lesson was on analyzing the strengths and limitations and appreciating one's own uniqueness. That's always such an uncomfortable question in interviews or anything. Is like, what are your I actually, now it's not, but when I was younger interviewing for stuff, it was kind of really uncomfortable to answer, because you always want to seem like, I got this, I know what I'm doing, I don't have any areas of struggle. But we all struggle in some areas, and like you said, nobody is perfect. What does that even mean? Sometimes I wonder that. So yeah, you were talking about how those kiddos, like the 11th and 12th graders, really don't have that confidence, and know what their strengths and challenges are. And I think, yeah, absolutely, you're absolutely right. I was right there with that. I experienced that myself. So you were going to start your lesson by giving the definitions and examples of strengths and limitations, and having the students write what their strengths and limitations were down on an index card. I think it was really great that you gave those definitions regardless of their knowledge of it. It's nice to still see it and to see what examples are like, and for those kiddos maybe who don't have the answers or who don't know, or it's just that reminder, and it allows them space and time to create, all right, to think of how it applies to them, and what they feel that their strengths and limitations are. And then you were going to have the students do the U Science aptitude test. I think that's a great idea, especially at that age. I still, to this day, love taking any sort of test that's going to tell me something about like my personality or my skills or my learning styles. They're fun, and they're oftentimes so accurate and revealing, and you learn so much about yourself that you may have not have seen or known. So that's a great way to get them involved and invested in something like this. I loved that you did that. Sorry, I'm just reading some of my notes here. At the end, you were talking about wanting the kids to be involved. I think, yeah, that's really important, like for kids to be involved in knowing what their own strengths and their own challenges are, and having them do the video, or not the video, having them take that test gets them involved, and it gets them thinking about, okay, like, well, if I'm going to do this post-secondary school, or I'm going to jump into this career, or I'm going to go into the military, what are qualities or things that I'm going to need to possess? What are things that I might need to work on? What are skills that I already have? So that was really great how you tied it to them and getting them involved in that, because once they're out of high school, they're not going to have that helping hand of an adult or a teacher or a maybe not even a mentor, depending on what they're doing to help guide them through that process. So that's really important to think about. And then the kids, you give them time to read over their reflect over their report. Um, like I said, those things can be really revealing, and sometimes, as you had stated, also there might be things on there that they didn't necessarily like, or there might be something that they want to be on there that wasn't on there, and allowing them the space to do that. It's probably meaningful for them, in the sense that it can be a little bit touchy, and it allows them to process it. Um, and then you were going to be asking guided questions with avoiding asking what it said. I think that right there is just hands down super important, because kids don't always want to share things, especially if it's something that was unexpected or that they did not want or they're not proud of or they don't like. Um, so asking them questions like, well, how do you feel about that? Giving them, providing, holding the space for them to process what they're feeling regarding this, not just jumping into, well, what did it say, or what do you think about that? It's like, what do you feel about that? What emotions are you having about that? I like that you did that. I think emotions are oftentimes overlooked. I think in the younger years it happens a lot, like we talk about kids about, well, what are you feeling? How are you feeling? But I'm not sure in middle school and high school how often kids are asked that, or kids want to know, or adults want to know what kids feel about things, especially when it's like something about themselves. Like, what do you feel about this telling you that you have these skills but maybe not this skill? So I loved that you did that, and you were very meticulous with the way that you asked the questions in order not to evoke any uncomfortable feelings or uncomfortable conversations that kids might not be ready to have. And from there, you went into kind of re-asking, well, are there qualities on there that you want to have? And from there, building an action plan around that. That's it for them to utilize, so that next year they can know, or maybe they know what they need to work on, or they know that, oh, this is something that I never thought I was really that good at. Like with art, and you said graffiti. My brother was the same way. My brother would do graffiti when we were younger and would get in trouble for it all the time, but then went and studied art in college, and now he's like I don't know, he's a graphic designer or whatever. But it provides the space for kids to be able to see, like, oh, I didn't know this about myself. So yeah, and so they can work towards that goal in post-secondary, or if there are like qualities that they didn't possess that they wanted to, that would be an action plan for them to work on, in order to gain those qualities throughout their next year. And I love how, like, you're talking about how your campus does that. Your campus just seems so amazing with all the support and the funds and the counselor for SEL. I'm just like blown away, and like, where is this campus? You don't have to reveal that, but it sounds really amazing, and I love knowing, because my district is so huge. There's 80,000 there was 80,000 kids in our district, and I think 10,000 teachers or something like that. So like resources it's hard to get things sometimes, especially things that cost like $30 a pop. So I think you are super lucky, and I'm really happy for you to have that for your kids, and you are obviously utilizing it in such an appropriate manner that is meaningful for them. So yeah, great lesson. I really loved it, and I look forward to continue learning with and from you. Have a good one.